You know I've traveled near and far, see the shining sea. I've seen a lot of places and people that were nice to me. One place that's in my heart, and this is how I feel. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. She's nestled in the sandhills on a river called Fayetteville. Special to so many who proudly served our country here. She was named for Lafayette and known for cotton mills. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. Babe Ruth hit his first one, heard around the world. Sherman marched with the Union and burned the arsenal. Old Market House still standing, but stands for freedom's will. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. My all-American city, Fayetteville. Talking about my hometown, Fayetteville.
Well, good evening. We would like to call our Monday, October 14th, Fayetteville City Council meeting to order. I'd like to welcome all of you joining us here in the audience and by television and online. At this time, we would ask that we would all stand for the invocation. Ask that Pastor Riley Holliday of Manor Church, is he present? Don't see Pastor Riley. We'll ask our own Bishop Larry Wright if he wouldn't mind giving us the invocation. And after the invocation, if you could please remain standing and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. Father, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, tonight we thank you, God, for this council session. We thank you for our mayor, city council, our staff, our first responders, and the great citizens of this city. We pray, God, that you would bless this session. Give us wisdom, knowledge to make decisions, God, that will be for the betterment of the entire city. God, for the future of our great city. We thank you, God, with that we might not all agree all the time, but God, our hearts are in the right place. Strengthen us, keep us, that we might be that all-American city, God, that we know in our hearts that we are. Bless us now as we go forward in the mighty name of him that we love the most. Amen. States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Pastor Bishop Wright. We don't need you to tell us about yourself because we know you. So, Heal the Land Ministries. You can, yes, sir. Please mention your ministry.
Yes. The ministry is Heal the Land Outreach Ministries, 414 Hall Street, and we just a non-denominational ministry reaching out to all those that need help in the city. So that's what we do.
Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your service. At this time, we would ask that Councilmember Jensen, we have a special guest joining us at the dais tonight.
Strong handshake.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to tell a little story about Justin before I introduce him. So I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was at Office Depot getting some printing done. And beside me was this very nice lady, and she was a mom. You could tell she was a mom, and she was so proud of what was getting ready to happen that her son was getting ready to become an Eagle Scout. And she was doing the book, and she sometimes when you're out shopping, you just need a friend beside you to say, yeah, this is going to be. So, of course, I'm a talker, so we became friends, and we started talking, and she was telling me about her son that was getting the Eagle Scout Award, and we started knowing people that we knew in common. So we had got it all ready, and she walked out, and she came back in, and she said, will you come to my son's Eagle Scout ceremony tomorrow at 7? We were at 71st Lewis Chapel Church. So I got to see Justin get his Eagle Scout award. He had no idea who I was. I didn't know where I was going, but I walked in there, and he was just as kind and appreciative to me when he came in. He gave me a big old hug. So I went to the youth council, and Justin walks in. Of course, he's grown, so I didn't really recognize him, and they said his name, and I was like, I know a Justin Robertson. I wonder if that's him, but I think he's gone out to school. So the second meeting, he came up to me and said, do you remember me? And I said, you're that fine Eagle Scout that I came to your ceremony. So just to let you know, Fayetteville is a very small world, and that's how we made our first connection. So I'm going to introduce to you the Eagle Scout Award, Justin Robertson.
Woo-hoo.
And he's a senior.
All right. Here it is. I thought I had
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Justin Robinson, and I live in District 7. I'm here to discuss what has been happening at the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council. On Monday, September 30th, the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council had its third official meeting, and on Monday, October 7th, we had our fourth meeting. During those meetings, we discussed the upcoming All-American City Jazz Festival, and we also split up into different committees and started planning out what we should do for the rest of the year. On Saturday, October 12th, the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council's Diversity Summit and Fayetteville Cumberland Human Relations Commissioners hosted the movie The Hate You Give and held an ethical discussion about the movie. There's a total of 8 Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council members and around 20 other people who participated in the discussion. Our fifth meeting will take place on Monday, October 21st.
Yes.
The All-American City Jazz Festival will be taking place from Friday, October 25th to Sunday, October 27th. Sunday will be a free event that starts at 4 p.m. and will be hosted by the FCYC. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you at the Jazz Festival.
All right, thanks, sir.
That's
Well, thank you for joining us, sir. I don't know if we've ever had an Eagle Scout up here before, so we're honored to have you.
I am.
And we're joined by phone with Councilmember Waddell. Councilmember Waddell, are you on the line?
yes, sir, she is.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay. And tonight we will not have with us Councilmember Crystal Cullington, so we wish them well in their travels. At this time, we have some special junior Broncos that asked if they would
Bronco Pride.
meet me at the podium.
Little Broncos. Mayor, as you are going down, it is indeed an honor for me to read off these names of our winners. And they are led by Miss. Okay, you got them? Okay. All right. And they are also joined by the Mr. Demetrius Haddock. Hey, sir. How you doing, sir? Good, good. Tonight we have our winners of our Little Miss Fayetteville State and Mr. Fayetteville State. Number one category from the ages of 5 to 8 is Little Miss and Little Mr. FSU. Little Miss FSU Legacy Queen 2019 is Miss Vanessa Lynn Hawkins, who is 5 years old, and she attends the Ball Berzin Academy, where she is in kindergarten. Her parents are Mr. Tommy Hawkins and Miss Lynn King. Let's give her a round of applause. Our first runner-up is Miss Little Royal Legacy Micaiah Shipman, parent Miss Demetra Murphy. In our second category, ages 9 to 12, preteen, Miss FSU, and preteen, Mr. FSU. Preteen, Miss FSU Legacy Queen for 2019 is Taylor Renee Gaddy, who is 10 years old. And she attends the Howard Hall Classical Elementary School, where she is in the 5th grade. Her parents are Mr. Bradford and Tisha Gaddy. I know those names. Our first preteen Royal Legacy is Delane Smiley, parent Miss Candy Bethea. Am I reading that correctly? Please forgive me. Dylan Smiley. All right, that's the first preteen Royal Legacy is Dylan Smiley with parent Miss Candy Bethea. Let's give him a second preteen Royal Legacy is Amira Willis Tucker. Am I saying that correct? Did she say no? Give her a microphone. Adrian, okay, Willis Tucker. Did I get that right? Good, good. I want to say it correctly. And she's here with her parent, Miss, oh Lord, I know I may mess this up. Takia Tucker. Did I get that right? Okay, well, it has Tucker here. Okay. All right. And our third preteen Royal Legacy is Emily Smallwood with the parents, Mr. Jason and Elizabeth Smallwood. If you would, everyone, let's give all of our winners a round of applause. Woo-hoo.
And we did not give Miss Adrian her round of applause, so let's do this. Congratulations.
If Mr. Torres Freeman with Community Planning could come up? And do you have your team with you?
Bring up the team.
Okay. So I'm going to read the proclamation for Community Planning Month. Whereas change is consistent and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, and rural areas and other places, and whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning requires public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. And whereas American Planning Association and its professional institute, the American Institute of Certified Planners, endorse National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight the contributions sound planning and plan implementations make to the quality of the settlements and environment. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Fayetteville. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional community and regional planners of the city of Fayetteville and extend our heartfelt thanks for a continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now therefore, I, Mitch Colvin, Mayor of the City of Fayetteville, North Carolina, on behalf of the City Council and more than 208,000 citizens, do hereby honorably proclaim the month of October in the year 2019 in honor of Community Planning Month. In witness thereof, I hereundo set my hand in cause of the great seal of Fayetteville, of the city of Fayetteville, to be affixed the 14th day of October 2019.
Well done, well done.
At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Willie Williams to come up to the podium to meet the mayor for a proclamation on World Homeless Day. Office of the Mayor Proclamation. Whereas in America, a country filled with infinite promise, the continuing problem of homelessness is deeply disturbing. And whereas on any given night, there are hundreds of homeless men, women, and children sleeping in their cars, on the streets, and other locations not meant for human habitation. And whereas World Homeless Day was born out of discussion between aid workers around the world, all of them helping the homeless in their own countries. And whereas ending homelessness is critical to the vitality of families, businesses, and communities. And whereas the theme of World Homeless Day is Locals Act Locally on a Global Day, emphasizing hands-on aid in the sensitive and being sensitive to local needs while being aware of the global problems of homelessness and feeling solidarity with other individuals around the world. Now, therefore, I, Mitch Colvin, Mayor of the City of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby honorably proclaim the 10th of October in the year 2019 to be World Homeless Day, and encourage all residents to educate people about homelessness in your area, converting education into action, and that will help homeless long after the day is over. In witness thereof, signed, Mayor Mitch Colvin.
All right, well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you to all of those who we recognize for your hard work and efforts in the city of Fayetteville. At this time, we will go to item 5.0, is the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Have a motion by Councilmember Art, is a second by Councilmember Wright to approve the agenda. Any discussion on the motion? All right, Council, I'll look to you for your votes.
Green.
Madam Clerk, that is unanimous by those present. Item 6.0 is the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
So there's a Motion by Councilmember Dawkins via lights. There was a second by Councilmember Art via light. Any discussion on the motion? All right, council, let me clear the board. All right, I'll look to you for your votes.
Green.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, that is unanimous, including Councilmember Waddell. Need you to recognize, please. Excuse. And Councilmember Waddell, are you, does your schedule permit you to join us the entire time, or we need to have council vote for excusal?
Yes, Mayor Colvin, I wish to be excused, and I'd like to ask that of the council, please.
All right, so, Madam Attorney, can we insert this item as a motion to excuse?
Yes, sir, and
All
I
right.
think Mr. Dawkins made the motion.
All right, so you have a motion by Councilmember Dawkins to excuse Councilmember Waddell, and there's a second by Councilmember Wright. Any discussion on the motion? All right, council, I'll look to you for your votes. And Madam Clerk, that is unanimous. All right, Councilmember Waddell.
Thank you, sir.
Safe travels, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, council, we'll go back to the consent agenda, item 6.0. Consent. We approve that, all right. All right, so moving too fast. I stuck Councilmember Waddell's item in there. All right, item 7.0 is the reports from boards of commissions. 7.01 is the Fayetteville Cumberland County Economic Development Board. Let's see, Mr. Pennick, Ms. Lindsay, good evening.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you all for having us. Give me 1 second so we can pull the PowerPoint up. Thank you. Mr. Andrew Pennick. That's confidential information. No, thank you for having us. I am the chair of the Fayetteville Cumberland Economic Development Corporation. This is Lindsay Allman. She is our vice president of operations. We are here to give you an annual report on what we've been working on over the past year. Just for those of you in attendance, the FCEDC is a public-private partnership with the city of Fayetteville and Cumberland County and the private sector. Simply, we are charged with increasing employment and increasing the tax base. We do so by promoting our community to industry decision makers, site selectors, and developers. We support existing industry by facilitating expansions and connecting them with resources. And then we identify and prepare sites and buildings for expedited development. In today's world, we have to make it as easy as possible for industry moving into our area. It's not about what you think you can do, but what you've already done. So having shovel-ready sites and having expedited permitting for projects is absolutely crucial. Our board is comprised of 10 voting members. The City of Fayetteville is represented by Mayor Colvin, myself, Mike McCollum, who's here in attendance. Thank you, Mike. And Bobby Suggs Jr. We also have an ex officio member, Doug Hewitt. Oh, I thought you had, I should have been clicking.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
There we are. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. Since January 2017, we have brought in over $103 million of new investment, and that's representing over 1,400 jobs. You can see since January of this year, we've had 28 new client visits, generated 75 new projects, and established 870 new acres of new product. Currently, our pipeline is filled with 71 active projects representing 5,500 potential new jobs and $1.9 million in potential new investment. And I'd like to turn it over to Lindsay to talk more about our targeted projects and innovation center.
Okay, so concluding this month, the Fayetteville Cumberland Economic Development Corporation has been actively developing some strategic supplemental development strategies to enhance the City of Fayetteville's current development efforts. These are to include the airport comprehensive development strategy, as well as a multimodal transportation strategy. Our goal is to, our goal is to continue to advance the city's efforts by going to various promotional events, as in the mayor thankfully came and represented the city at an aerospace summit a few months ago in Raleigh, and we were able to network with companies like Northrop Grumman and various site selectors looking for airport development projects. So these are some of the efforts that we're looking for with these special projects. Another large focus that we have as an organization is improving the innovation and the collaboration across private companies. And so last month, we officially launched our partnership with Eastern Foundry. This is a tech accelerator that's out of DC, and they recognized the opportunities that we have here in Fayetteville with the exiting military, with the large amount of contracts that come through Fort Bragg. And this organization, which is co-housed up on the 4th floor with us at 201 Hay Street, they are enhancing the smaller to mid-size, already established companies and helping them grow and flourish here in Fayetteville. And another special project.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. One of the major initiatives and projects that Lindsay was talking about is our branding campaign. So community branding. We have over 4,000 voices. Obviously, all of you all have participated as well. But the branding committee is comprised of a partnership of the City of Fayetteville, Cumberland County, TDA, Crown Complex, Chamber of Commerce, Arts Council, CVB, Vision 2026, Cool Springs Downtown District, Cumberland County Schools, and FCEDC. It's important to recognize that all of those core partners are committed to this development. They've all bought in, they're all contributing money, and we're very cohesive there. Just to give you a little bit of a project update on our branding, North Star, our community branding consultant, has completed the in-depth qualitative research both inside and outside of our community. We've completed the community strategic DNA. That's the foundation for the brand's creative development. Now we're actually in the really exciting phase. This is going to include the messaging, taglines, logos, brand narrative, and a variety of creative deliverables for application by all stakeholders. So again, that's the pretty exciting part that we're going to really be able to get to show people. In the final phase, obviously this is something that you guys really will care about. We are going to be narrowing the scope in terms of where we're going to be doing our marketing. We're going to have all of our core partners together to basically get an idea of where we want to market, how extensive we're going to market, so we can create a budget. And that's really where North Star is going to, sorry, did I go there all the way? Where North Star is going to be able to recommend the budgeting for implementation. So with that, we thank you, and if you have any questions, we are happy to answer them at this time.
Yes, Ms. Pennant, we do have a question. Councilmember Hare.
Thank you. As you spoke about the branding portion,
Yes, sir.
And as within a part of your branding, do you go and also look at what areas of branding that have been used that's not good for the city, and see if we can go about changing that particular?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
So
Concept.
there's certainly institutional knowledge of what's been used in the past. We do rely on North Star to guide us in using what we currently have. And this branding campaign is going to be a platform where, the Arts Council, we're not going to require Greg to do exactly what we would for one brand to be used for everything. He'll be able to basically pick and choose what he wants out, but it'll give us a whole messaging system. So it's kind of like the Marriott brand. You have different hotels underneath that brand, but within their hotel brand, you can have different hotels.
So if there have been certain symbols or logos that have been used that have been brought somewhat of a negative
Sure.
Branding, you would be making recommendations of maybe we need to discontinue using this?
I think they're trying to come up with an entirely new concept, yes, in general.
Okay.
And so they just got through a really fascinating part, what they called the brand DNA, where they really got down to what is true and what represents our city and what is authentic. And then from that, with the assistance of the community and the stakeholders, they have taken that back and they're now in the creative phase. So we're just waiting to see what they're going to be bringing back to us. But there's going to be common colors, common themes, but it is all authentic to what represents us.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem?
Mr. Pennick, and the business development, retention, and new business coming, can you give a brief overview of that great experience yourself, the mayor, and I had a couple weeks ago out at the Campbell Soup Plant? Let the audience know what's going on with that. I mean, that's a huge development for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. So, not too long ago, Campbell's Distribution Center decided here to be in this location. You'd be very impressed to see the progress that they've made. I know when I drove out there, it was just absolutely amazing. So there's a 700,000, almost 700,000 square foot distribution facility that's out there. The safety mechanisms that they use and protocols that they have are absolutely top notch. It's just very impressive. And that's also, they were able to expedite that process with help from, obviously, you all. And just to see the progress that they made so quickly over that year or so, even despite the hurricane and everything like that, was just absolutely impressive.
And when we took the tour, I want to say they already had an initial staff working. We saw them operating, and they were saying sometime in this upcoming year, that job number should jump up to close to 200 people. That's what they told us, right? So that's 200
correct.
New jobs at one facility coming to Fayetteville by next year. Higher than what originally, yeah. So very impressive a couple weeks ago.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. It absolutely was. So thank you for that. And I understand that they are going to be a distribution hub for some of their surrounding operations. So hopefully it'll look to spur more of that. But thank you. So, Council, at this time, if there are no more questions, okay, Councilman Dawkins.
Mr. Mayor, I can make a motion.
All right, let me clear the board. Hold on a second. All right. Councilman
Motion to approve the report.
All right, as a motion by Councilmember Dawkins, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Moan. Any discussion on the motion? Was that a question, Mr. Hare?
Voting, sir.
Okay, all right, Council, I'll look to you for your votes. Madam Clerk, that is unanimous by those present. Thank you all. Keep doing great work.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for your engagement as well.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Council, item 8.0 is the public forum. Public forums, this is a time that any Fayetteville resident may have input and a voice in what goes on in their city. Due to policy restrictions, the forum will not last any longer than 30 minutes, and each speaker will be limited to only 3 minutes to address the City Council on issues related to the City of Fayetteville. Individuals wishing to speak at tonight's public forum should have signed up with the City Clerk prior to the start of tonight's meeting. If you're here to speak on items that may be on tonight's agenda under the public hearing, I ask that you would please reserve those comments until the public hearing. So when you hear your name called by the City Clerk, we ask that you would come to the podium, clearly state your name and address for the record. Then when you see the light located on the podium change from green to yellow, it means you have 30 seconds left to speak. When you see the red light come on, that means your time has expired. Again, due to policy restrictions, we're not able to extend the given time. With that being said, Madam Clerk, you can call your first speaker.
Yes, sir. Mayor, we have 12 speakers signed up for this evening. Our first speaker is Mr. Chilico Dennis. Not here. Our second speaker signed up is Dennis. I have you down as speaker number 10. Yes, sir. Miss Dolores Poindexter.
That's gotta be Chilico, right?
Oh, okay. Mr. Hurst, if you would like to come first then. Okay.
Yeah, it's just that.
So, is this a different hearse than number 10?
Okay, so it is a different. Yeah, you're number 10.
So it's number 10.
Oh, man, I missed that second page.
All right.
Okay, Miss Barbara Pollard.
Hello, Miss Barbara.
Hey, Miss Barbara.
Hello, ma'am.
Ready?
Okay. Good evening. My name is Barbara Pollard. My address is 605 Knob Court, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I live in Lake Valley, which is off of Yadkin Road. I've been a resident of my home for 32 plus years. We have an established neighborhood. We've only had one home built in our neighborhood in 32 years, and that was because of a fire. When Addison Ridge started building their development or extended their development on Santa Fe, they cleared all the homes, the trees and brush behind our development, and especially on our cul-de-sac. And in doing so, our neighborhood on those two cul-de-sacs are full of rodents and animals now. I've seen deer, I've seen rats, I've seen a lot of things I've never seen before. Not only in our neighborhoods, but in our homes. I have never had to kill a rat in my house in 32 years. We killed 6 rats. Within 2 weeks, we killed rats. The scary part was, it was a snake in my house. I've spoken to 3 or 4 neighbors. They have killed a number of snakes. But when I woke up about 2 weeks ago, and I looked down by my bed, and there was a snake, I almost just died. But so happened, I had a sticky pad because of the rats that were coming in. And in the meantime, we have covered, at my home, we have covered every vent, everything. I bought everything that could be put down. My neighbors as well. We've had exterminators to come and to the neighborhood, to different homes, whoever could afford, exterminators to come in. But my fear is every time I get up, and my grandson and my daughter, we wake up in the mornings, we have to check the traps to see if anything is there. But when I woke up and saw that snake by my bed, that terrifies me. And I just want to know what can be done, not just our neighborhoods, but maybe other neighborhoods, when they clear the brush away. They don't think about these animals, and these rodents have a place to go. And our neighborhood and our cul-de-sac is the first one it come to. So with the snakes, especially, my daughter has killed 3 snakes. I've lived there for 32 years and have never seen a snake near my home. And one of my neighbors across the street killed a copperhead, had a copperhead, and a, can't think of the name of the other snakes, but I just want the city to come out and to help us, because we don't live in a neighborhood that's full of rodents and rats and things of that nature.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Mayor, our next speaker is Miss Jaquita Williams. Miss Williams. Our next speaker is Miss Kathleen McCabe.
Hello.
Hello. I've never done this before, so. My name is Kathleen McCabe, and I'm a Fayetteville resident. Do I have to? 2114 Rock Avenue. I'm not as prepared to do this tonight. I had a death in the family last week, so I'm just going to be a little lighter with this tonight. I came to North Carolina 2 years ago, very unplanned from the West Coast. The original thought was to live in Cary, but in being there, leaving a crime rating on the West Coast, two locations, an A crime rating, and Cary is a crime rating as well. I thought that was going to be an easy transition, and working in the Triangle area for the better job market. This was unplanned to come to Fayetteville. Got in the car one day. I wasn't feeling Cary at all. Got in the car one day, just frustrated, needed to clear my head. Got on the road, drove down here, and everybody was so friendly. And Fayetteville, I fell in love with it. It was the diversity that I need in my environment, and I just felt the connection and changed the game plan. I considered that the F stands for friendly instead of right. So. The reason I'm here tonight, though, I'll be addressing things. I wanted to come tonight and introduce myself. So I'm just going to read from here. In the future, I'll be addressing economic development, jobs training, the urgent need for stronger tourism activity, and drawing off the 95 corridor traffic of that. The walkability of Faye is horrible, and we need to do something about that. So for safety, health, and wellness. But tonight, I'm here about two things. The first, ending cash bail, is really serious here. I've never seen anything like it. I have never seen so many bail bondsmen as coming to North Carolina. It's a shock. Ending cash bail and improving the experience and outcomes for our younger citizens of color, okay? With our population being pretty even in the black and white department, or of color, we'll say, we have a unique opportunity to show the rest of the country what can be achieved and with concentrated intervention. Regarding ending cash bail, the U.S. and Philippines are the only countries to use the system. Within the United States, there are so many places that have already eliminated it, including Durham, and seeing positive results. Fayetteville needs this to happen. We have got a really vulnerable population here, okay? I've got so much more I want to say. So that's, I'll talk more because I know my time is ending, but those are the two things. I just really wanted to come tonight and introduce myself. So I'm going to run out of time here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jonathan Stewart.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Jonathan Stewart, 5796 Pepperbush Drive. I'm a transplant from Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. I'm a veteran for Vietnam vet, and I'm a Christian, and I'm a member of Fallen Run Baptist Church, which you came to so you can be installed. I'm coming here about property that was in 5800 Pepperbush Drive. I've sent emails to you, Mr. Mayor, and to that guy named Christ, and with no answers. I've even called the proper authorities of what's going on, and police come and they drive by, and to no avail. I've sent or asked to talk to the chief of police, and that's no good either. Obviously, I don't have the right, what we call slang or whatever. Our problem, or my problem, lies with the house being built. It's I'm 5'8", and the grass is over my waist. They have never mowed the grass. I've been there since even come to your members of this city here. I called them, and they say, "Oh, well, we got to take advice from the mayor." And I can never get in contact with you. I've even come down here and spoken with Crystal, I believe is her name, and right out here at this door, nothing. I really am frustrated with this because the general contractor, He refuses to pick up trash. I've sent pictures of the trash and the grass that's there, and the law enforcement, they drive by, and actually they finally did stop, and I asked them, can you help me? All they wanted to help. No, nothing we can do. So my next resort is, if I can't get anything here, then I guess I'm gonna have to go to higher up. Okay, 30 seconds. Real quick, I need help. 5796 Pepper Bush Drive. The problem is 5800 Pepper Bush Drive. The general contractor is Gilmore. I believe you're familiar with that. He tried to bribe me $50 to let him park his vehicles on my grass where they can picnic on my lawn. This has to stop.
Well, thank you, sir. Couple things, and I usually don't respond to that, but I'm available for citizens, but I will have, when you come in here, I see citizens every week. So I'm not sure who you were dealing with. I'm not familiar with a crystal, but what we'll do is, Mr. Manager, can you have someone check his address out for code enforcement, 5800 Pepper Bush? Someone will be in touch with you in just a second. Thank you.
Mayor, our next speaker is Ms. Tina Sherman.
Hello?
Good evening. My name is Tina Sherman. I actually live in Apex, North Carolina, but I'm here with an organization called Moms Rising, representing our members here in Fayetteville. Again, my name is Tina Sherman. I'm a campaign director at Moms Rising. We're an online and on-the-ground organization of more than 1 million members across the country and their families nationwide, and 47,000 here in North Carolina. We work every day to increase economic family security, decrease discrimination against women and moms, and build a nation where businesses and families can thrive. I'm a proud North Carolinian who is happy to call Fayetteville my hometown. Go Falcons. Also a former alum of FCCYC. I love this city, my family and friends who live here, and I'm thrilled to be able to speak during the public forum and ask that you consider adopting paid parental leave for City of Fayetteville employees. Fayetteville will be better off for it. First, I want to provide some context. Right now in our country, only 17% of people have access to paid family leave through their employer. It's even worse here in North Carolina. A recent study by the Duke Center for Child and Family Policy found that just 12% of North Carolinians benefit from paid leave through their employer. The United States is one of the only countries in the world that does not offer paid leave for new mothers. What this means, put simply, is that families struggle mightily without paid parental leave that would allow them to bond and care for their newborn or newly adopted child they are fostering. Moms and dads have to make impossible choices between the children they love and the paychecks they need. But when parents can stay home to welcome, bond, and care for their new babies without jeopardizing their family's economic security, moms do better, children do better, and our economy does better. Moms can heal from birth and breastfeed their babies. Children benefit from breastfeeding and from developing strong bonds with their parents. You're going to hear from one of our Moms Rising members and one of our partners in a minute, but I want to tell you an experience of another member who was unable to be here this evening. She shares, I had to use my vacation time for FMLA leave when I had my babies. After the birth of my first child, I had saved almost enough vacation time to cover the entire 3 months, but that left me with no vacation time afterwards. Because it got quickly drained away with the needs that sick days weren't enough to cover that my first child needed. I didn't have nearly enough vacation time saved when I had my second child 3.5 years later. I couldn't take the full 3 months I needed, and I had to return to work with a severe case of postpartum depression. In addition to supporting families, paid parental leave would help the city with hiring and retention, especially because Fayetteville competes with workers with 18 local governments, including the most recent New Hanover County and City of Wilmington, who have expanded paid parental leave. I urge you to take this step to make Fayetteville stronger and healthier, to support families and businesses, and strengthen the city's economy. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I apologize, I also have a letter of support from our members here in the community that I'd like to share with you.
Yeah, that's clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, our next speaker is Ms. Sharon Toland.
Hello.
Good evening. I'm Sharon Tolan, 213 Lofton Drive in Fayetteville. Thank you for the chance to be here today and share my personal story. I'm Sharon Toland. I'm a mom. I'm an environmental consultant and a proud member of Moms Rising. I'm grateful to speak today during the public forum to ask you to consider adopting paid parental leave for City of Fayetteville employees. Fayetteville is home to so many talented and educated people. Everyone in the city would benefit if the city could hire and retain the best people without losing out on those of us who need to be paid for time away to care for a newborn or a newly adopted child. The wonderful employees that the city already has would be able to do better work if their workplace would acknowledge that they have a family that needs them as well. Paid leave would be an investment in the future of Fayetteville because babies do better when they get a chance to bond with their parents. I know this firsthand from my own personal experience. With my first child, I lived in California and was eligible for 12 weeks of paid leave thanks to a state program. But when I had my second child, I lived here in North Carolina and wasn't eligible for any paid leave. It was very difficult and a different experience. With my first child, we had weeks to bond and figure out our routine. I learned to pump and I practiced using the bottle. I had a chance to heal and just learn to exist as a mother. Because of all that, when I returned to my job, my employer got a worker who was relatively rested and ready to work. My son got a mother who was confident and able to enjoy both my time at work and also time with the baby. With my daughter, it was nothing like that. Everything was a mess. When I had to go back to work, she wouldn't take a bottle. She wasn't sleeping more than 45 minutes at a time at night. And as a result, my employer, the same employer, got back a worker who was exhausted, stressed, and miserable, and that was the mother that my children got as well. I wasn't physically or mentally able to prioritize one over the other, motherhood or employment. It was just a stressful mess. It's now 2 years later. I'm back. Still employed, have the same boss. I'm back to enjoying my work and doing the best with my kids. I'm currently the only person at my company who does the type of analysis that I do, which afforded me the job security that I needed. But I was also fortunate to have an understanding boss. But they did not get my best work during that time. And if I had not been able to push through, my employer would have had to take the time to train and hire a new employee. And I will never be able to get back the weeks of bonding with my daughter that I was able to get with my son. So then thank you for letting me share my story, and I hope that you will consider paid leave for city employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Angela Tatum Malloy. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Angela Tatum Malloy, and I reside at 404 Pilot Avenue. Also have a business downtown, which is our city and our state's first freestanding breastfeeding center, located 1 of 5 in the country, located down here. I am here to speak on the side of providing clinical support for our families. I'm a lactation consultant. I'm also a doula in the community. We also have a doula collective, and so as Tina mentioned earlier, the Family Medical Leave Act has been in place for 26 years, and we still do not have a set policy across our country that provides paid leave federally. And the intentions of the FMLA was to provide a balance between the demands of work and also the demands of home. What I do is I have moms coming to me as early as 2 days. Some of them are even messaging me in the hospital where they're already trying to introduce, what am I going to do for pumping? I've had moms and, parents having to go back to work as early as 6 days. I'm out there doing the education that our postpartum period, we look at it as just 6 weeks, but it really is the first year. When we hear of infant mortality and also maternal mortality, that's not just in the first 6 weeks or right after birth. That's including the first year. And so, Fayetteville is doing some wonderful things. Our mayor did get our city as, designated as breastfeeding friendly, and that is phenomenal. We're going to be using that to approach businesses, hospitals, and getting them to, utilize that to support our families. But once we get them breastfeeding and providing that, we need to make sure that they have the time. As she stated earlier, it's, even though it's something natural, it still has to be practiced between the mom and the parent. And so a lot of times we have families that are rushing trying to do this because they're trying to get back to work. I'm doing the education in trying to support our families and get in our community in getting back to honoring the postpartum period, making birth sacred. I think we've gotten away from that, and it's become a matter-of-fact event nowadays, and also the postpartum period. I have 3 adult daughters that have given birth. I moved them all back home for the first 6 weeks. No choice. And that's because we shut our house down. We focus on their healing, them focusing on bonding with the babies. And what happens is when they do go back out, they are able to recover faster. It helps moms dealing with postpartum depression. I also support our active duty soldiers as well, and they're concerned about doing it. So, the faster that we are able to develop this, it will just help our community to be healthier. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Our next speaker is Mr. Charles Hurst.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council and citizens of Fayetteville. I have not used that first part of my name in 30 years at least, but I reside at 1253 McHarry Drive. My 2 PowerPoints to speak on today, I come as an angry man of color, angry black man. And the 2 subjects I speak on is the Citizen Review Board and also the Civil War Museum. Many of the people, with the mayor, the sheriff, the police chief, the city council, the school board, and judicial branches, for decades, we have strived as people of color to have representation in those positions. And Fayetteville is in a unique position because we finally have achieved that as far as down south, the city of Fayetteville, where we have people of color in those positions that I just named. So there has been given a mandate and you have a platform to address our issues. The Citizen Review Board is sorely needed because most of us with televisions and cell phones, we are following the increased shootings of unarmed people of color, whether it be our women lately and our men. This has happened lately. We have a case within the last 3 weeks, one with the sheriff department and one with the city of police, the city of Fayetteville City Police Chief, department, the city and the sheriff department, whereas individuals have been either arrested or shot. In some cases, in one situation, the body cams have been turned off. And so for any person, especially of color, that resides in this city or in this state, in this country they call the United States, to believe that this city does not need a citizen review board if you are conscious-minded and like-minded is an atrocity. The second thing I seek to address is the issue of the Civil War Museum, or whatever name it currently goes by. That allegedly $15 million didn't come from city council pockets or county commissioner pockets. None of y'all contributed that. That came from taxpayers paying property taxes and sales taxes. We can do better things with that money. We got vets sleeping under bridges. We got homeless people, steady influx of that. We have a serious problem with opioids, and we have mental health citizens in this city. There's more things we can do with $15 million. Thank you very much.
Miss Ruth Carroll.
Ms. Carroll?
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Ruth Carroll. I live at 2811 Coronado Parkway, Fayetteville, North Carolina. And my concerns is the storm drain. I do have a storm drain behind my house, behind the fence, and it needs some adjustment. It's not properly flowing into the storm drain. And I talked with Councilman Dan Cullerton, and I spoke with him on May the 21st. He asked me to write a letter, which I did, and I submitted the letter, but I have not gotten any information regards to this problem. And if the problem is solved, that would eliminate mosquitoes, which is very unhealthy. And, you know, other neighbors in the neighborhood are having the same problems. And by the water not flowing into the storm drain, it's causing a lot of water in my yard, which keeps it soggy. I did have a storm drain, French drain, in other words, put in my yard that flows into the storm drain, but it has not helped at all because the water's not flowing into the storm drain. So I did go by the city of Fayetteville downtown, and they told me that I needed to contact my city councilman, which I did write the letter. So I'm just wondering, what can you do to help solve this problem? Okay?
Ms. Carroll, can you leave a copy of that letter from
You
May
can
the
have
21st?
this one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Someone will be in contact with you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Most certainly.
Mayor, our final speaker is Miss Marsha Jones.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. I want to say, first off, my name is Marsha Jones. I'm at 3095 Enterprise Avenue. Thank you. Thank you for the bus stop. It was so needed. But my issue today and that day and this day coming until we get to an answer is the transit. I am legally blind. I cannot drive. I need transit, but I need it to be able to work functionally. If I said that right. I was asked a question the other day. Said, haven't I ever rode the bus when there was nothing wrong? And I looked him straight in the face and I said, no. I have not rode Fayetteville's transit system bus one day where there wasn't something wrong. The bell didn't work, the fare box didn't work, the door didn't open up. I can go on, I'm not gonna waste my time telling you about all the things that I found wrong. And I know Miss Angel is probably tired of me, and so is Randy, and so is Tiffany, because I've been told that I have two hats. And those two hats is, I am a rider, but I am also a transit board member. I am in the contrary of, I started off the first year as a rider trying to tell people, we got a problem. Hello, we have a problem. There's a war going on down here. Faulty equipment, things not working, you know, and a whole year's gone by, and I'm just doing this. Okay, a year's up. I want to come to city council, and I'm going to say, city council, we have a problem. We have a problem. I don't know how to say this, and without saying it repeatedly, I need this bus. But I'm flabbergasted. I get on, I don't know what the venture I'm fixing to go on. And I had to figure out, who do I blame? Okay, we need buses. Maybe that's what it is. If we get some buses, but then we don't have enough buses to rotate. So we have to rotate them out in order to give the mechanics time. So it's the mechanics' fault. Mechanics don't have enough time to work on the buses because they're riding in the ones they got. Oh, it's not their fault. It's not have funding. Okay, so we need some funding in order to get the buses so they can rotate them out so that we can get on. We got problems. Can I keep going? The drivers are being underpaid. You know, they're working like dogs. It's not their fault, but they're at a gag order. They can't talk. I can talk. I can walk, I can say bye, but you'll see me again because I ride the bus.
All right, thank you.
No, we have no further speakers.
She's great.
All right, so this time we will close the public forum. Item 9.01, and we'll give a few minutes for those who'd like to exit to do so. All right, item 9.01 is the Fayetteville Public Works Commission Community Solar Customer Offering. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of council. I want to thank specifically Councilmember Jensen for inviting me to come talk about community solar at the council meeting, so thank you, Ms. Jensen. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about what we're going to do with the community solar offering for our electric customers. And Carol Justice Hinson asked me to remind the city council members we are doing a ribbon cutting next Wednesday at the commission meeting at 9 o'clock at the site on Butler Warner on Custer Road. So you're all invited. We'd like to see as many of you out there as we can to help us bring this solar array into the community for our citizens. So I'm going to go through several things. I'm going to talk a little bit about the project in general, talk a little bit about the battery economics, the solar array economics, talk about how we're offering this to our customers and how it's set up as far as the rates from the commission. So PwC, about 3 years ago, worked with North Carolina State University Clean Energy Technology Center to do a feasibility study. They helped us to determine what the economics of a solar array with a battery with it would be. In 2017, the commission approved us to design, build a solar array project with an integrated battery, which would be the first in North Carolina. Project is roughly 1 megawatt of solar panels and a 500 kilowatt battery. It's located on a site adjacent to our Butler water generation plant. And the prime contract was awarded to Dewberry from Fairfax, Virginia, but our local partners included Horn Brothers from Fayetteville and Directional Services from Hope Mills, who helped build a large portion of the project. The project was designed as a package, but the justification for the solar array and the battery were separate. The solar array is a compliance resource that helps us meet the requirements we have under Senate Bill 3 about having renewable energy as a part of our portfolio of generation. And a portion of the cost of the solar array will be offset by the amount of money we collect from our customers to support compliance with Senate Bill 3. And while the solar array is connected to the battery for charging, the battery will be operated by PwC to reduce our power supply costs from Duke Energy and benefit all customers, not just those subscribing to community solar. So it will help us keep our rates low for all of our customers. So a little bit of what the community solar project is not. It's not designed to mirror or replace rooftop solar installations or rooftop solar economics. Customers, residential customers, will have a maximum subscription of 5 panels, which is only about the third the size of what normally would go on a roof. It's not an ownership model. It's not subsidized by non-participating PwC customers at electric rates, and it's not a revenue source for PwC. What it is, it's an economical way for PwC customers to get involved with solar energy, including those with rental properties who are in the military. About 60% of houses in this country are not suitable for solar because of the orientation of the roof or trees or other things blocking the sun. So this is a way for people who have a home that they own or rent a home or are not able to make a long-term commitment to be able to participate with solar energy. It's a subscription model. PwC will retain ownership and use that ownership to comply with our Senate Bill 3, Bill 3 requirements. And it's designed to be modeled 100% break even at the end of the life. So all the costs and benefits will be separated and tracked. The cost of the solar array will be paid for the people by the value it creates and by the people participating with the solar array community solar project. And the battery will be paid by all the customers, and the benefits flow to all the customers. So the battery's connected to the solar array for charging. Some of you may have heard me say this. Our power supply contract with Duke Energy Progress, there's 1 hour each month when every kilowatt hour we buy costs us $20. And the rest of the month, every kilowatt hour we buy costs us less than 3 cents. So whatever we can do with this battery to reduce the amount of energy we have to buy from Duke Energy Progress at that 1 hour each month saves all our customers money. And that's what the goal of the project is. It's projected the battery will last for 15 years. It's going to cost us $931,000 to install, and we're going to save about $119,000 a year in simple payback in about 8 years. So then after that, the money will flow back and save our customers money. The community solar economics. So following the model of municipalities, community solar is designed to be 100% break even at the end of a 25-year life. So the solar array is expected to last 25 years. So including operating maintenance expenses, the planned replacement of the inverters after 15 years, and the costs for decommissioning, which we're setting aside money for those future costs as a part of this project. The installed cost is $1.5 million. Funding out of our money we collect for the compliance is $570,000, so the balance is $978,000. Our O&M costs we expect to be about $19,000 a year. And we're going to set about $26,000 a year to pay for those future costs that we know will be coming down the line. And that we expect that the array itself will reduce our power supply costs by $98,000 a year based on the work that NC State did for us as far as the feasibility study. So the customer offers, based on it being 100% break even after 25 years, based on the actual results, the customer credit will be modified periodically to maintain our economics. And we'll use a reserve fund to balance minor fluctuations in the operation of the array. I think most of us understand that solar arrays produce less in the wintertime and more in the summertime, and they don't produce very much at all when it's raining or there's a hurricane. So the fluctuation of what it produces does vary quite a bit, and then there's obviously possible fluctuations in the cost to operate it. So we set up a reserve fund so we can manage that, where the customers' bill credits will be very predictable, and by the end of the 25 years, it'll break even. Everybody will have paid for it itself, and nobody else will have to pay for it. It's based on individual solar panel subscriptions. So an individual customer, residential customer, can reserve up to 5 panels per customer. There's 3,384 panels available to subscribe. And there are some panels initially set aside reserved based on customer classifications. So there are panels set aside for city accounts, county accounts. We'll work with the city if you'd like to have some panels assigned to some of your accounts. We can work with you to do that. We've held some aside so you can do that to help you with your profile on solar energy. And on the $978,000, since our interest rate on bond money is about 4%, we applied a 4% interest when calculating the cost of the subscription fee, which the customers pay to pay for the upfront cost of the array. So a summary of how this is going to work for our customers. There's an enrollment fee which goes into the reserve fund to help us deal with the fluctuations in the production and the cost of the array. The first panel is $20 enrollment fee, and every panel after that's a $10 enrollment fee. The monthly cost, the subscription fee monthly, is $1.53 per panel. That will be set for the whole life of the 25 years of the array. And the initial monthly bill credit with O&M and the reserves costs subtracted out of it for the first 12 months will be $2.51 per panel. So the initial monthly bill credit will save the customers 98 cents a panel. Okay, and then we will retain the solar renewable energy certificates for our needs to comply with the state law. So if you look at this, the table down below, if you subscribe to 5 panels, in 12 months, you will pay that back, and everything else after that, you'll be saving money. If you subscribe to less than 5 panels, it takes you a little bit longer to pay it back, but you will pay it back, and we expect customers to be saving money over the life of this array. And with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
Wow, well, that was A lot of information, Mr. Brown. So basically, just to summarize what I believe you said, was that if you participate in this program, it shows based on the number of panels you have where you receive credits each month.
Right.
But it shows that where the cost that you'll pay, and if you can go back to that spreadsheet.
The table, right?
Yeah. Right here.
Right there.
So basically, if you took 5 panels, even though it's a $60 initial fee, and how much per month would that cost you? I see the credit that you're getting back.
So 5 panels, your subscription fee would be 5 times $1.53, so $7.65. And then your bill credit would be $5 times $2.51, so that'd be $12.55. So you save $4.92 each month if you reserve 5 panels. And that's in the first year, and then every year we set the new one based on how the array produces. We expect that the bill credit will exceed the subscription fee throughout the life of the program. So customers will be saving money as they go along.
Now, is that directly related to, I heard you say initially during the presentation that you have one peak time per day that you pay $20 per kilowatt?
Per month, yes.
Okay, versus 3 cents.
Right.
So you have this system set up to use during that hour that you pay the most for this energy.
Right. So the solar array will operate when it operates, and when it's operating during that 1 hour, the customers, we will save $20, and all of that money we save will go into the reserve fund to pay for future bill credits. So the solar array produces when it produces. There's no controlling over that. The battery, we will control the battery when we charge the battery at 3 cents and when we discharge the battery at $20. And that savings will go back to all our customers to help lower the rates for everybody.
All right, so that's my question. So
Yeah.
if PwC saves $1 million using that model, there's a directly
$1 million
correlation
goes
between
into the
savings. There will be $1 million worth of credit, or you put that in?
The whole $1 million of credit goes into this fund for the people participating in the solar. So the savings for a solar array, all the value that creates goes directly to the customers who are participating. It doesn't go anyplace else. Okay?
All right. Did have a couple questions, Councilmember Jensen?
Yes, thank you for coming, Mr. Brown. I appreciate you coming and telling everybody about solar. I have one question of something that you said. You said, like during hurricanes and bad weather. So let's say I sign up for solar energy and everybody's power is gone out. Am I going to be probably last to get back on because depending on the weather?
No. So
Okay.
we have about 15 customers who have solar panels on their roofs right now. So our restoring their power to them is the same as everybody else. We use the same criteria for whether to restore that power or not. If the sun is shining and the amount of power you're using in your home, okay, is independent of the way we connect it. It's independent of that. But you get turned on the same as anybody else. If you had a solar panel or not, there's no change in the order you get turned on. So.
Is it harder? I guess my question is, I'm just thinking of what we've been through for, the 2 years the 4 years that we had 2 hurricanes. If one came off the roof or where it was, and I'm going to use the analogy, it's kind of your cable and internet and phone company. Sometimes you change over, but when it goes out, you're going to be waiting a long time.
I think there's 2 parts to that, Councilmember Jensen. The first part is, and if you looked at Puerto Rico when the hurricane came through Puerto Rico, there were essentially no solar panels left on people's roofs in Puerto Rico. So that's the part of we're all subject to the forces of nature like that. And so if you put your solar panel on a roof, it may not stay there. Depending on how bad the storm is, our solar panels may be damaged too because they're sitting out in the open there. So that's one part of it. What I was referring to is, and I'll tell you a story that sort of puts it. So I was in Western Pennsylvania for my sister's birthday party 2 years ago in May. So it was a Saturday afternoon, noon, in Western Pennsylvania. So it's almost summer, okay? It was a rainy day. And I walked into the mall across the street from where my sister's birthday party was going to be. And they had a solar panel on the roof. and they had a little kiosk there to describe the solar panels. I'm sure we've seen those lots of different places. So it's noon on a Saturday afternoon, and it's raining. And the solar panel was set up to produce 7 kilowatts. At that time, noon in May, on a Saturday, rainy Saturday, it was producing 1 kilowatt. And so that's what I mean. So we tend to think that the energy is always the same all the time, even though it's not. When it's cloudy, when it's raining, you don't get as much output from your solar energy, and it's that uncertainty that it's hard for us to predict how much value it's really going to produce. And so that's why we need that reserve fund there to make sure we can consistently give the customers the bill credits we promised them and manage it to break even by doing that.
Thank you. You answered exactly how I wanted you to.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
All right, Councilman Wright.
Yes, you mentioned about the 25-year period. You put out a lot of information tonight, and I'm sure for just the average citizen, they probably couldn't follow everything you were saying. But for the fact that you are starting a solar panel portion of the PWC, and people can opt into that.
Right.
But you were saying about the 20-year period, at the end of the 25-year period, it sounded like you said after they paid in, they wouldn't have to pay anything anymore. They just
Right.
use.
So yes.
How can you?
So if you subscribe and pay an enrollment fee, and you choose to stay on the program, and you can come and go anytime you want. So there's no commitment. You don't have to stay for 1 year, 5 years, 25 years. You can stay. You can sign up and stay for as long as you want to stay. And if you move from within our service territory to another place, you can take your subscription with you because you can still be our electric customer. If you move and you're outside our service territory, then the panels will go back into the pool, and people who are on the wait list can have those. So there's no commitment for how long you have to stay on. We expect the array to last 25 years. And so it's designed that at the end of the 25-year life, all the costs will be paid, everybody will have gotten their bill credits, and there's no money left that anybody to owe, and there's no value left for people that they didn't capture.
So you can get the service and not have to pay a monthly payment, a monthly bill.
You have to pay your subscription fee, which is a monthly fee, and your bill credit, which we expect to be larger than the subscription fee throughout the life of the and so it's independent of your regular PWC electric bill. It's on your bill, but it's not directly related to your bill in any way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Councilman Art.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Mark, thank you for the presentation tonight. There's growing interest in solar across the community, but there's also growing interest in people being able to have panels on their house. Does PWC incentivize the private homeowner to have panels installed on their house?
We do not currently have any incentives for solar panels. If I can tell you a little bit about how that works, Duke Carolinas, Energy Carolinas, and Duke Energy Progress do have incentives for solar panels on your house. The way that they were required by the North Carolina Utility Commission to do that. The way that works is if you put a solar panel on a roof and you get an incentive, then Duke Energy collects that money through rates. So if I put a solar panel on my house in Duke Energy service territory, I get an incentive from Duke Energy, and the other customers pay that incentive through higher rates. So if you think about equity, you think about who can afford to put a $25,000 investment on their roof, and then if they get the incentive, then who's paying for that incentive, which is everybody else who can't afford to put $25,000.
I can make the same argument for this. Who's paying for this incentive?
The people who are paying for this are the people who are subscribing.
There's no additional PWC money being used to front the cost of this
There's no additional PWC money. There is money that we collected from our customers that's required for us to meet the Senate Bill 3 requirements. So we're allowed under that bill to collect money from our customers to pay for this, which is part of our compliance.
But it's the same thing, Mark.
Well, it's the same.
You're still collecting money from your customers to front. I just say this because there are some people out here that are PWC customers who feel like they're not being given a fair opportunity in comparison to Duke or Progress, in that it's either join this plan or we can't have solar. And I just would invite the PWC Commission to go back and relook that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Art.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Brown, looks like
Okay?
I don't have any other questions, so,
Okay, I'm next too.
thank you. Yep. All right, item 9.02, Phase 5 Annexation Sewer Extension Project, Area 32, construction schedule.
So now for something completely different. So I'm here to talk to you tonight about our revised schedule for the sewer extension in Area 32. I'll give you a little background on where we stand in Phase 5 in general, just to update you on that. Talk about, show you the project map. Talk about how the impact of NCDOT projects have affected Areas 32 and 34, and what that's going to mean to the citizens in that area as far as getting, some of them will get sewer a little sooner than they would have otherwise. And then I'll take any questions you have. So this is the Phase 5 map. If you look in the lower left-hand corner, that shape, that kind of long, narrow shape, in the lower left-hand corner, there is Area 32 is in the purple, gray, and green is Area 32. And then Area 34 is in the dark maroon color in the upper left-hand corner there. So those two areas are affected by the outer loop construction from NCDOT. So that's the areas we're going to talk about today, is those areas down in that area there. So just a little where we stand on this. There are 34 project areas. 19 of them are complete. Areas 20 and 21 are in construction. They should be done around the end of this calendar year. Areas 22 and 23 are nearly finished in design. You should be seeing us coming forward, asking for your permission with a preliminary assessment role, permission to proceed with construction for those soon. And we're just starting design in areas 24 and 25. And areas 32 and 34 are affected by the I-295 construction. So the sewer mains that we will need to install to serve the customers in area 32 and 34 will have to cross underneath I-295, the outer loop. Okay, so the areas 32 and 34 affected that. So we have been working for about 9 months now to design those two areas so we can have the NCDOT contractor install those crossings as part of the 295 construction, so that it can be done more cheaply that way. It can be done at the same time they're doing that work, and then we can connect onto them when we're ready to do that. All right, so it saves money. It makes it much more efficiently, because if you wait until it's done and try to put it in later, it'd be very expensive to try and do that. When we designed those crossings, we had to design the whole area 32 and 34 because everything flows downhill. And so it's a gravity system, and so we have to know what elevation they have to be all over the system so we can decide what elevation those crossings have to be. So we did that. So during the design, a portion of Area 32, we determined that that construction would be in conflict with some other NCDOT projects at Stony Point Road and at Camden Road. So what we decided to do is that since we had a completed design, that we would be able to go in to avoid the conflict with the Stony Point Road and the Camden Road project, that we'd be able to go in and install the sewer to two small portions of Area 32. Okay, that way we avoid conflicts with Stony Point and Camden Road projects. We'd connect, customers would be able to connect sooner, and we'd have less construction impact on the citizens. We know that when we put the sewer line, there's a heavy impact in the neighborhoods of that. If you can imagine the neighborhoods being torn up and Camden Road and Stony Point Road being torn up at the same time, how difficult that would be for people to get around. So we're trying to avoid that, and at the same time get it done a little sooner. So this is Area 32. This is the one that's most heavily affected. The green area in the lower right-hand corner is 32 area, we call it East, Section 1. And the tan area next to that on the left is Area 32 East, Section 2. Those are the two areas that will be getting sewer earlier than they were originally scheduled to do because of the Stony Point Road and the Camden Road projects. So those customers, area Section 1, 32 East, Section 1, we expect the sewer construction to be there, to be done in 2020. And we expect Area 32 East, Section 2 to be done in 2021. And that means everybody in that section will get sewer as we would normally do. And Area 32 East, Section 1 is where Wendover is. And you've been engaged with what's been going on with Wendover, so that's where Wendover is. And that's why we brought Wendover to you, because of that. And then to the left of that is Area 34, the purple and the light blue is Area 34, where we're putting some of the crossings in for I-295, but we're not extending sewer to the individual neighborhoods at that point yet. They'll stay on schedule. They're scheduled to be done around 2024. So Area 32 East was split into two parts. Section 1 includes Wendover. I talked about that already. The remainder of Area 32, since there's no road projects that are blocking the rest of it or in conflict with them, the construction will be completed in 2024 as original scheduled. So some of the citizens in Area 32 will get sewer sooner than they would have otherwise, and the rest of them will stay on the same schedule. So there's no action for the council to take today, but in the near future, we'll be coming to you with a preliminary assessment roll, and we'll ask your council for permission to proceed with the construction in Area 32 in those two sections. And with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
I did have a question, Mr. Brown. I had actually had this discussion with former Chairman Rogers. NCDOT started probably a year or two ago doing a new design build model where they designed it, built it, everything. They did the Louise Street Bridge in half the time that it took using the old model of send it out for design, get bids in, send it out for contracting, get bids in, start the work.
Right.
So they took a project that was a year and a half or 2 years and did it in nine months or so. I asked the Chairman Rogers because those folks in West Fayetteville were annexed in 2005, right? Something roughly.
Roughly that time frame, yeah.
All right, and so we're at 2019. We are at 19 of 34. So, and it took 14 years to get there. So we're about a little more than halfway. So at this pace, it may take another 14, 15 years to get finished, right?
Well, I think it's more like, I'm not saying it's a short period of time. I think we're looking at somewhere finished in 26 or 27, because the areas that we're going into now are smaller than the previous areas were.
So
it won't take as long to build.
The question is, have you all, when we first came on council and we started hashing this out, you all said this is the pace that PwC will do it. We'll design it, we'll put that out for bid, we'll get the design back, we'll build it, put that out for bid, and then we'll start the work. Have you looked at adopting the DOT model of doing it all in one? I mean, that's known to accelerate the projects. We're looking at it for some other things that we're doing.
Based on our experience in this, there are no firms that are equipped to do design build for sewer infrastructure. There are firms who design build highways, but there is no firms. So we use two separate design firms to design this, and we use multiple construction firms to build these things.
And so when's the last time you all have checked that?
We regularly do that, because we know the design firms that have experience in doing this.
And they told you that there are no such firms that will design it and build it.
There's nobody with any experience doing that. We do design build, the solar array I just talked about. We did that design build. We did design build, I can't remember, we did design build that was a project that we compete with. So we do look at design build all the time. Commission has given us authority to do that, but it's not practical in these specific areas.
So the other question is, the pace that you're doing it, have you looked at bringing more contractors, more people who do it? Or you're saying there are only two firms that design sewer installation in America?
Well, no, I didn't say that. So we do have two firms who have designed our systems for a long time, all right, and they're very experienced. And the design firms is one of the constraints. The biggest place we have constraints is in the people who are available to build this and who bid on building these. There's relatively few contractors who bid on these. Sometimes we only get two bids, we have to bid it again. So there's relatively few people.
So how wide of an area are you looking for contractors?
It's an open bid. We get contractors from all over the state. We get contractors from out of state. We have one contractor that's local in Fayetteville that builds a lot of these, but it's a wide open contract.
When you send your bids out, you have the people who are on your list, right? Have you looked at expanding that list? Because again, just like I asked you about design firms, are you telling me there's only 2 or 3 contractors that do this kind of work?
There's 2 or 3 contractors who've done this work for us and know our system. So there are other contractors in other areas of the state that do this, yes. Design contractors. We have significant outreach. One of the things that, as you know, Chairman Rogers has been very active in trying to outreach and grow local businesses and to try and get more businesses to bid in this contract. And we've worked very hard to include more people so we can do this, but we have not been very successful.
Well, I think the local purchasing model or priority applies to more than sewer installation. So my question is, if this is a specialty service and we're on a 30-year track to get these people sewer, when are you going to look to expand and bring more contractors and more designers into your process? Use the local application for buying some of this other stuff that PwC buys.
And we do get some local contractors, and our engineers are local. Our engineers are faithful. I understand what you're saying. Part of the restriction is our staff being able to manage those things, and that's probably more of a restriction than the number of contractors. It takes an engineering firm 9 months to a year to design one of these areas. And we have, right now, we have 3 projects going at the same time. We have a project, 2 projects in, well, 6 areas. 2 projects in construction, one that's nearly done with design, and another one that's in design, as well as Area 32 and 34, which we designed in conjunction with that. And we accelerated that in order to get it in to meet the I-295 timetable. But the main constraint is having the staff to be able to do this and manage it from PwC's perspective.
So, and I'll sum this up in my last statement.
Sure.
So, from your professional opinion, there's nothing that you can do to get this process done in any short of a time frame. Is that what you're saying?
So, Mayor, when you and the many members of the current council first came on, we increased the size of some projects. We accelerated construction. We looked at, as you requested us to do, to look and see what we could do to accelerate that, and we did what we could do at that time, and it has accelerated it. So, so that we are consciously all the time aware of the council's desire to finish this and get it done fast, and we're doing the things we can to try and do that.
Thank you. Councilman Art.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I can piggyback on your comments, I think maybe there's an interest, Mr. Brown, that, and we know that you guys looked at it in the past. Could you accelerate? But I think it's time to look again to see if we have the bandwidth and the funding, the on-hand funding, to secure additional staff or to secure additional bandwidth so that we can increase the pace of the installation of sewer in a more expedited manner, but certainly in a manner that meets all the quality standards that we expect and that PwC is known for. So I would suggest that maybe we ask PwC in 90 days to come back and lay out a plan, if they can, accelerate the rate of sewer installation.
I'll take that back. I mean, Mr. Mayor, if you want to reach out to the chairman, you can do that, but I'll take it back to staff. And
Yeah, that would be appreciated, because we have constituents in District 6, 7, and 8 this is not a pleasurable conversation to have, that we look at all of these innovative things that PwC can do, like break our energy down in solar, and we have 146 million in cash reserves, but we can't figure out a way to accelerate that. But thank you.
okay, all right, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Brown? All right, sir, I think we've harassed you enough, huh?
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time.
All right, item 9.03. Mr. Jernigan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Lee Jernigan, City Traffic Engineer, here tonight to go over some proposed changes to our residential traffic management program that we briefed council on last Monday night at the work session. So I'm here tonight requesting your approval for those. The background for it, the RTMP, or like I said, the residential traffic management program, is in line with 2 of council's strategic planning goals for their FY20 plan. And this review was prompted by a request that was received from the Green Valley community through Councilmember Hare. So upon that, a subcommittee was formulated with Councilmember Hare chairing, Mayor Pro Tem Mon, and Councilmember Dawkins participating. As staff, we assisted the subcommittee by providing information at 2 different meetings. one on August the 23rd and one on September the 16th. You can see the list of things we reviewed and responded to several requests from the subcommittee members to provide information. And with that, we'll cut to the meat of what the proposals are. And if you can see in red, and I want to preface this by saying these are the proposed changes to the residential traffic management program and the two components of it, which are a multi-way stop installation and a speed hump installation. Other criteria that are currently in each one of those guidelines will remain the same. So these are just proposed changes that were requested by the subcommittee members. So those, in summary, are the length of the street that a multi-way stop, we'll start with that one, would be installed on. Our current program says the street needed to be a half mile in length. Subcommittee desired to reduce that to a third mile. Our study duration was basically 2 days long, so the recommendation is to lengthen that to Monday through Friday, excluding any holidays or any other issue that might not be in a normal traffic pattern, such as school was out. A reduction of a distance from an existing stop condition from 800 feet to 600 feet. And finally, on the multi-way stop guidelines, our current program says 100% of the adjacent property owners to the multi-way stop would be required to sign the petition. The proposal is to reduce that to 75% of the adjacent property owners to the multi-way stop condition, and any undeveloped or unoccupied property would not be required to sign the petition. So in summary, that was the recommended changes for the multi-way stop guidelines. And moving over to our speed hump guidelines, the only proposed change was to reduce when we do our traffic volume and speed study, in accordance with the guidelines, we will determine what the 85th percentile speed of the motorists are along that particular road. The proposal is to reduce that criteria from that 85th percentile speed being 9 miles an hour above the posted speed limit to 7 miles an hour above the posted speed limit. So in essence, these speed hump locations are only installed on locations where there are 25-mile-an-hour speed limits. So in essence, that would reduce the requirement for the 85th percentile speed to go from 34 miles an hour to 32 miles an hour. So that's a summary of the proposed changes. Again, just to restate that other requirements of our RTMP would remain unchanged, and that's our volume and speed criteria, with the exception I just mentioned for the speed hump. And again, tonight we're just requesting council approval of these changes to the RTMP as recommended by the subcommittee. And with that, I'll be glad to entertain any questions or.
Do have a couple of lights for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Hare.
Mayor, I was going to move with a little small summary and a motion, so unless someone else has questions, I can.
I see another green light. Is that a second, sir?
I do have a couple of questions, Mr. Jernigan.
All right, so I'll get him and then I'll come back to you.
It's going to be Councilman Hare on the motion.
All right, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. I appreciate your leadership on this and your willingness to consider these changes. Councilmember Hare is very passionate about this, and I join with him, as does Mayor Pro Tem Moan. Many of the other council members talked about joining this committee. They're very passionate about these changes. What we're trying to do is enable citizens to qualify for either speed humps or more stop signs, so that we can slow traffic down, we can calm traffic. Every single week, I get complaints about our speed, our traffic, the need for more stop signs, the need for more police writing tickets, and but the one area we didn't talk about was blind curves and blind hills at intersections such as Kintyre, which is behind Tallywood. And this will be something I'm going to email you to ask you to, I need your guidance on. But we have folks coming over this hill going fast, and I got a complaint about that today, so I'll bring you. But thank you. And I don't think I had a question in there. But
I'll be in first thing in the morning, so
I'll come up with a question. I'll email it to you, and I'll carbon the mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Hare.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to question? Did you have a question?
All right, so, Councilman Arp, and then I'll come back to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Hare, appreciate your guys' work on this, you and Mayor Pro Tem and Councilman Member Dawkins. On the speed hump issue, can you go back to that slide?
Yes, sir.
Because I just want to make sure we all understand, the citizens understand. We're going to go to the 85th percentile. So we're lowering the threshold, but what does that mean to the citizens? I've got people on Murray Fork Road and Old Farm Road. They'd like to see more speed bumps in their neighborhood. So what does it mean that we're lowering that percentile speed?
Yes, sir. Good question, Mr. Arp. The current RTMP that will not change requires several criteria to be met, one of which is volume, one of which is speed. So if our office is requested to investigate a roadway or location, we'll go put our counters down and we'll collect all that information. So in that is a nationally accepted way to set speed limits. It's called the 85th percentile speed, and that's basically what speed at which 85% of motorists feel comfortable driving. So if you've got a road designed in a certain way, folks should be able to drive it at a comfortable speed limit, reasonable speed limit. So basically the recommendations is that once we calculate that 85th percentile speed, if it's 32 miles an hour or higher, that location would meet the criteria from a speed standpoint for a speed hump criteria. Now, there's other ones such as a petition process that would need to be completed as well. But basically, as far as that one requirement, currently today, it would be required for that speed to be 34 miles an hour or higher. If these changes go into effect, it'll be 32 miles an hour.
Right, that's the key point I just wanted to make is this is only one portion of the criteria.
Yes,
We're
sir.
making it easier to meet this portion of the criteria,
That's
but you
correct.
still have the petition criteria. And what is the criteria for the petition?
So on a speed hump location, we would send, if they qualify for speed and volume, we would send the requester a map of an area that would be influenced by the installation of a speed hump. In some locations, that might be an entire neighborhood. In most locations, it's just a smaller portion of that neighborhood because folks have alternate ways to travel to avoid that speed hump. So once that petition is sent and we've defined that area, it's required that 70% of the residents within that area have signed that petition in favor of the speed hump. That's an overall influence area. The particular location where the hump would go would be required for 100% of those adjacent property owners to sign that petition in favor of the hump. Typically, that's just two. It's where the hump would be located in a parcel of property on either side of the road. We work with neighborhoods if we need to adjust spacing on a hump, just a little bit one way or another, so that we can get it in a location where folks are in favor, because it does provide some additional noise for traffic coming over the hump. So we work closely with the community to make sure we're not installing anything at any place that the community is not comfortable with.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jernigan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, Councilman Hare, I think we.
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Back to you.
First, I just want to, again, just to say thank you to all of those that work with us on this, with staff, and of course, my council members. Thank my council members, the entire body, just for supporting this. This will be immediate as far as the stop sign section goes. There would be some immediate changes that can take place. We have lowered the bar down tremendously to help support turning a one-way stop into a three-way stop, meaning that you have to stop in every one of those directions, and that slows down speed. So I think this is a great, great move for us, and I would just like to move by making a motion that we approve the revision of the city residential traffic management program.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Hare, as a second by Councilmember Dawkins. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, council, I'll look to you for action. Madam Clerk, that is unanimous by those voting.
Thanks,
Motion
everyone.
carries.
Thank you, sir.
Good work, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Item 9.04, Fayetteville Cumberland Reentry Council. Chief Hawkins.
Good evening, council members. Hello. So I am here to represent the city because we received a letter from the Fayetteville Cumberland County Reentry Council requesting the city to become the intermediary agency. As it was discussed in the work session last week, the existing intermediary agency will no longer be continuing on, and as of November the 14th. So on Monday, the council gave direction to try to locate other avenues to become this intermediary agency. So in discussion with members from the council, there have been a possibility of one or maybe two taking it on, but since there's the deadline for the request for proposal is October the 21st, and the council will not meet before that time period. The request is being presented to see if the city wants to take it on if the other agency who indicated they would be applying for it is unable to. So it's being presented tonight to seek your direction at this time period. And I will do my best to answer any questions that you have.
All right. I do have a question from Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chief. We talked about this last Monday night at the work session, and then we talked about it upstairs at the dinner meeting. And if I'm tracking this properly, if we don't give direction tonight as a potential backup, and the application does not go forward by the 21st of this month,
Yes.
we will lose out $150,000 that we received this previous year.
The request for proposal would not be able to be completed because you will not meet before that time period again.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Chief, I did have a question, and maybe rhetorical, but I don't think so. I remember they didn't have the answer for this. Do you know about how many people we have returned to our community from incarceration annually?
I do not, but I believe there might be someone in the audience who may have that number. I can ask them if it's possible. Mr. Gardner, do you have that number?
Pastor Garner, how are you, sir?
Hey, sir, Mr. Mayor and City Council.
Hey, sir.
Presently, thank you, Chief. Average yearly returning citizens and from North Carolina Department of Public Safety come back to Cumberland County is 800. We had 886 last year, but over the last 5 years period, it's been averaging like 800 for citizens coming back into Cumberland County.
Thank you. That question was asked. I was at a crime commission meeting and I didn't have the answer, so I'm good to go now.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other questions for Chief or the Reentry Council? All right. Councilman Dawkins?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'm just asking your guidance. I mean, you're making this recommendation. Is that correct, Chief, that we do this and be the backup in case the other primary is not able to provide their services?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good.
Good. All right. So council need a motion to authorize application for this grant.
Motion that we authorize an application.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Wright, and a second by Councilmember Art. Any discussion on the motion? All right, council, I'll look to you for your votes. Madam Clerk, that is unanimous by those present. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Pastor Garner. Keep up the good work. All right, council, I'll look to you for a motion to adjourn. All right, good meeting. See you later.